Hey there crew, it's Mark from MENWHOBULLET. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today as we set up our weekly plan with me inside of our B5 sized Archer and Olive dot grid notebook. We are going to have a lot of fun this week. Last week's video was like 2.5 minutes long, one pen, and while I love doing those type of videos every now and again, I wanted to mix it up and do something fun this week. So we're going to talk about it. It's a little bit more technical in spacing this week. It's not just like straight squares, but we're adding a little bit of fun inside of here. So let me explain it all to you. We'll also have fun in the twist today with some ink and some washi. So let's do it. To get started this week, let's just talk about our materials that we're going to be using in the first part of this video, which is all about the minimalist layout. We're going to be really just using a Pit Artist pen, a pencil, and a ruler, because this is going to be very size specific. The way that we laid this out is going to be all about the squares and the grid and having some fun with that today. I don't usually include stamps and things like that inside of the minimalist part, but we're going to need that today because of the spacing. I want to make sure that this looks nice, so we'll actually start with some stamping. I'll explain that all to you in just a second on why we're going to be using this today and what we're going to be doing. So this will get us started in the first part of the video, and then we'll go over materials for the twist in just a bit. Let's first talk about the layout. The layout this week, as I mentioned, is going to be very technical, but for all intents and purposes this week, I did follow a grid. It's just that I'm mixing it up a little bit when we get into how we're going to lay out our overview boxes. But really, everything here is going to be a 3-column layout. We're actually following this 10-1, 10-1, 10 for those columns. And then what we're doing is kind of breaking our page up into 3 parts, but we are changing these measurements just a little bit. So let's talk about what we're doing, and then we'll kind of really get into it. This is more of a, you got to see it before you just understand the mathematics between what I did here. But it all makes sense at the end. That's what I love about it. It all is still symmetrical. So the first thing I did is really split my page in half. I wanted to make sure I gave myself enough space because I'm actually going to have a bit of a gap in between the top and the bottom of my pages this week. So doing that in a B5 Archer and Olive notebook is going to be 23 squares from the top. Same from the bottom because it's the middle. We're actually going to be running the washi across here, but you could do a few different things. We'll talk about that when we get there. The most important part and kind of the trickiest part of this week is actually how we're setting up those overview boxes. As you can see, I have a lot of different numbers inside of here, so let's go over exactly what they mean. We have our 3-column layout here. So if you wanted to kind of pencil in the space a little bit, you could. It's going to be 10 squares starting from the left. We're going to skip 1 square, 10, skip 1 square, 10. That'll give that row spacing. We get a little bit more tricky though when we're dealing with these overviews. So what we're going to do is actually be using this stamp that we have here, which is going to be 4 by 4 squares, about, it's almost there. And then we're going to be offsetting the container box. It'll still fit inside of that 10 square because this is going to be 4, and then we're going to go over 6 squares from here. Top to bottom on this one is going to be 15 squares. You just got to remember to bump yourself in 1 square just to give that offset look inside of here. We're also going to be starting these a little bit differently. If you didn't want to get kind of this technical and perhaps a little confused, you could start them all at the same height. But what I did is I'm actually going to start this first left one here down 3 squares. So my top of this will start 3 squares down from the top of the page, and then I'll do the 15. I'm going to bump over that 1, and when I start here, I'm going to start my stamp at the very top of the page. So that's going to leave some space between each one of these. And all that's doing is just alternating where one starts and stops. It gives it a really cool look to it. As I mentioned, this is much more of a, you got to see it before you can really understand it. So let's go ahead and set up our page and we'll start talking about what we can do with the spaces a bit more. I've gone ahead and started with penciling in the space of my area here. I think this spread this week really exemplifies why it's important to start with a pencil first, because if you go right in with a pen on here and you make any mistakes at all, well, yes, we have a fancy eraser that we used last week to get rid of ink on a page. I want to try to avoid that. So taking a few extra minutes just to make sure things are spaced out right is going to save you a lot more time in the long run. I usually include stamps in the twist of these videos, but because I'm doing these small squares and because I want to start my lines out from where those are, I want it to make it look nice and clean. I'm just going to stamp those down real quick. We're using VersaFine ink. It's one of my favorite inks that I use with small details like this especially. Some of those other ink, they get a little messy, honestly. They kind of flood the inside of your stamp as you're using it, and it's not going to give you that nice fine detail like VersaFine does. The last thing we need to do here is just draw out our lines. That's going to be coming out one little space from the top and one little bit space here from the left, just to offset a little bit. We'll be putting dates inside of these squares if you're just curious on what we're doing with those. If you don't have this stamp, obviously you could just draw a real quick little stamp look if you wanted to, or just keep them square, or even use a circle template if you wanted to. You can really do anything. Let's go and fill this in. We've gone ahead and cleaned everything up, so we've got all of our pencil lines removed except for this middle point here. I need that for the twist. But really, this is what this page looks like from a minimalist setup. We're going to be putting task and our rapid logging over on this side. Instead of splitting it vertically like we usually do, we're just going to be splitting this page horizontally today. If you wanted to use the space in here and not fill it with washi tape or other things, you could certainly do small trackers inside of here. You could do small notes, intentions, anything small like that if you wanted to. Let's go ahead into the twist and we'll go ahead and finish out our page for today.
How many little stamps are you going to do?
Inside of the twist this week, we're going to really just be doing washi, and we're going to be doing some ink since we already used our stamp. Still had to include the how many little stamps we're going to use because we just used one little stamp, but we used it 6 times today. Let's go ahead and start and just split our page in half with the washi tape. I've already marked it out. It just happened to be that this washi tape was exactly the size that I wanted it to be. Washi tape is one of these things that I like have this love-hate relationship. Not really love-hate, but like love, am I going to use it relationship with. I think it's cool, especially when it has like cool patterns and it can really kind of display your personality. But the only problem that I tend to have with it is like, how much am I going to use it? So if you follow along with my plan with me's, you know that I don't use them all the time. But I think for me, it's more about just kind of finding the ways to use it, you know? And, you know, creating some big spaces over here is a great way to do it. And I can really respect that. We're just going to use a little blade. I'm just going to cut that right there and sit that down. So we've got our horizontal split. It matched up with my stamps over here. That's why I used this one this week. Everything should be laying down pretty good, so that's great. So then we just got to do dates and days of the week and titles for over here. So this week what we're going to be doing is using some more ink from Birmingham Pen Company. I've been using this a lot lately. I just have so much of it and I really love it. And I wanted to still keep within this kind of dark theme that we have going on, almost black and white, but this cast iron color is super cool. Let me show it to you real quick inside of our book. So it's right here. So it's not like pure black, but it's really dark, kind of dark brownish black. It's like if you were pulling stuff out of a cast iron, that's the color that you're going to get. We are also going to be using our glass dip pen today. It's just a lot easier to use this than filling up a fountain pen with it. I love how easy it is. These little rungs here, if you haven't used a glass dip pen before, they hold onto the ink, so you can get pretty far with these. So we're going to be doing the days of the week. We're also going to be doing the titles of the days and alternating through. And I always love seeing how far my ink takes me. I'll be honest with you, I cannot believe that I made it through this relatively unscathed without smearing any ink. A little itty bitty baby smear there, but I was able to lay down colors, days of the week. As a lefty, this is a huge achievement for me. I have a lot of links for you in the descriptions below to save you some extra cash as you're thinking about your 2023 setup. I have my Archer and Olive discount code, which is MENWHOBULLET10. I also have some other links for you for desk gems if you like things like these cool little stamps. She also does carry, I don't know about this exact Eric Small Things washi tape, but a lot of cool washi tape and different inks as well. I'll also have the links for you to the Birmingham Pen Company if you're looking for cool colors like this, as well as the link to my Amazon shop for the glass dip pen. I love how easy this glass dip pen is. It's why I've been using it so much recently for these. It's like I don't need to fill up a whole fountain pen just to use this, and it's been fantastic and super easy to clean. I'll chat with you later on. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you.